Right, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for that background there, George, and thanks for the introduction. So I'm James Massey, the COO of CASTLETON Technology. I've got a few slides just to run through here around some of the options that we've got around our technology stack to assist social landlords in the mitigate some of the options around universal credit. And as George said, we can go into some Q&A at the end, and of course, anyone in my team can of course follow to afterwards as well. So we look at some of the high-level points around universal credit. Of course, transaction fees will undoubtedly increase for the social landlords. Of course, you go from having one single housing benefit payment paid from local authority or a benefit provider then to the social landlord. And of course, we have to then collect multiple transactions. And I'll come on to where we're going to be looking to cover some of those off later on. Of course, it's a seasonal thing, potentially universal creditors. So, our view is that good interaction and good intervention at the right times is, of course, key. But also, making sure people have a quality of life. And again, our view is, that when it's things like Christmas and back to schools and Easter, etc., we need to, people, of course, need to be considerate of those things. And again, can we do things around payment plans or payment profiles, etc.? And again, I think our technology can look to drive some of those things forward. Inevitability says that there will be an increase in rent arrears, so it's about how we identify those. And of course, as a social provider, it will be expected that, of course, you'll need to have more resource to do this. And obviously, as a technology provider, of course, our job is to bring about that technology, and try to facilitate what those things look like. So if we look at then sort of points around tackling that, again, we look at income maximization, rent and revenue protection. So again, maximizing and protecting that revenue stream that come into your businesses. As George referred to earlier on, of course, there's a lot of piece around education. I think there should be a big drive to educating people about how to be good tenants and what a good tenant looks like in general. And again, we have some technology in our stack and in other products where we think we can drive that and drive good communication with individuals. Looking at rent arrears forecasting. So as opposed to looking at maybe a classic view of going to arrears 1 week, then got a letter, another week, another letter, etc. It's about being able to fine tune that, and again, putting those more committee resources into making sure that you are looking at those people who need that early intervention. Obviously, technology is there as a given then to support that strategy. But probably the starting point of where we come in then is around good data. I've worked in the sector now for very many years, and I've seen some fantastic projects with some great data, and I've also seen some projects that have poor data. And if you want to drive good communication with tenants, making the best value out of that particular proposition, I think it's so important to have good data, phone numbers, etc. And again, that's where our solutions will come in. So we offer a proposition around a data cleansing process. We can give you a health check on your data, which gives you a red, amber, green indicator down to individual record level. We can cleanse that data, of course, accordingly, and we can validate the customer's data. So by that, the critical point there is we can validate the address, we can validate the telephone numbers to make sure they're real phone numbers, and we can validate the email addresses to make sure that they are real email addresses as well. And in fact, if you read George's magazine this month, the company Sagacity Solutions are in that magazine with the piece in there, and CASTLETON Technologies partner with Sagacity. Probably the top point on the slide there, the bit that says the illegal subletting. What we're able to do with our data services is to basically identify properties that may be at risk of illegal subletting. And of course, there could be a question: is that particular property being sublet out because that individual is in financial trouble, so they're having to let the property out to cover the rent costs? So again, we can potentially identify those properties where there could be a subletter in there, and again, you may then want to go and take some intervention to there. But again, critically, making sure that your data is correct, your phone numbers, your email addresses, your postal addresses, and then the subletting, as again, all solutions that CASTLETON can offer. And again, as with all of our solutions across the board, it doesn't matter which core platform you have, if that's one of ours or one of our competition. Then again, we can do that with any of those particular parts. So once the data is happy, we can then move in then to the actual core solution around combating rent arrears and again trying to assist people, probably before he gets into that particular point. So there's three defined areas here, which is around identification, intervention, and income, which is what the three parts of the circle make up there. So rent arrears forecasting, when Elaine, our colleague at New GORBALS, comes on shortly after myself, you'll see that she will be showing a couple of screenshots of this particular product. A rent arrears forecasting engine is designed to take data sets from a number of core solutions, again, regardless of what the original core platform is. We feed those into an intelligence engine, which will run a number of rules around weightings and scorings, around propensity to pay and payment trends and all of those kinds of things. And at the very end of that, you then get a far more clear, prioritized list of cases to work upon, as opposed to just having just all of your cases there in some sort of chronological list. You've got a far more intelligent set of lists there based around weightings and priorities. Once you have that list of cases, of course, the next thing is you want to do something with that. So we then move into our targeted digital communication, or you probably should say targeted communication platform. I'll cover that one there as you go through. And then being able to take payments at the point in time to suit all individuals. And again, I'll come on to what those things mean shortly. So the principle is there is identification of cases, early intervention there to get the communication flowing, and then be able to take that income there at a particular point in time. And what I'll do is move now into some more detail around some of those particular points. So rent arrears forecasting, again, what we want to look at there is true data source prioritization. So taking data, prioritizing those cases, using the data intelligently, using the data you already have in all of your systems and all the various solutions across the market, and actually prioritizing workload using the IT to be able to do that. So again, not having to trawl through lists to try to work out people. And equally, if you have people who, for example, are on a weekly tenancy but then pay every 4 weeks, and again, do you want to send those individuals 4 automated communications as opposed to saying actually they always do that because history tells us they always go forwards into arrears and then pay? And again, maybe there's some more intelligence we can do then around those. Identify payment trends, identify risk months, identify when arrears may go up based upon, as I said earlier, seasonal trends, Christmas, Easter, etc., etc. So again, using that data there to work out when your good and bad months may be, or good and bad periods may be. And then data science. So we partner with a company, I think on this conversation, called Glantis, and Glantis are data specialists. They don't specialize in a particular vertical, so they work in our sector. They work in many sectors, and they're data specialists. They're data scientists. They can use data to drive out true positivity from that data, and again, as opposed to just having generic numbers and generic cases set there, they can really use their data scientists that they employ to actually get some true value out of that particular data set. So the rent arrears forecasting engine, again, Elaine will show a brief of that one as we proceed through. Targeted communications. We purchased a company called Deep Lake back in January, February time this year. Deep Lake's a very, very good SMS online digital communication platform. But equally, we realize that it's important to get the most effective communication method. So actually what we're looking to do now is enhance this solution to say, actually, if you took your cases from our arrears engine and fed them into our communications platform, we could actually track through them and go, Mr. Smith, here's the best way to get a response from Mr. Smith is to text him. Maybe the best response from Mr. Jones is to send him a letter. Maybe the best response from Mrs. Jackson is to potentially go and visit her. What we're looking to do is to enhance our digital communications platform there to be able to store against an individual tenant or tenancy, whichever one that needs to be there, what the best communication method is. So once a case flows into our communication manager from the solution, it will then say, right, actually, based on history, we know text message is the right communication channel for this particular individual, and therefore we will then text them out as opposed to send them letters, which we know that they will then ignore. So again, using that targeted, preferable communication method to get the biggest effect. And again, using the data, we feed the data back into our arrears engine, so we track those things through all the time. And again, maybe that becomes a seasonal thing, but of course, the critical thing there to make sure your phone numbers are correct, email addresses are correct, postal addresses are correct, which they generally are, and then we use that right communication method then to do that. I think everyone is obviously very clear that SMS is, of course, a cost-effective solution to do that. And of course, there's a couple of numbers in there as well, what that looks like. If we then go into just a very brief brief case there from Fiona at Lewisham Homes. Fiona, the red text from Fiona there is very, very clear. It says that, an example of this is a rent arrears. Finance team tried to reach a tenant using letters, calls and visits, had no response, sent them a text message out, received an immediate reply and agreed to make a payment. So again, that alternative communication channel is absolutely key. And again, there's a good use case in there, of course, from Fiona at Lewisham Homes. And again, we've seen this happen many, many times. I've been involved in projects for many years now where using text message again is an absolutely key one. But then critically moving from the text message through to how we then collect that particular revenue stream. Now, what we don't want to do, of course, is make it onerous for the tenant. So you'd never want to have a scenario whereby, you've identified the cases, you've worked out what the correct caseload is, you've then gone through the process of texting that individual, but then when that individual receives that text message, they've then got to go then to a website, they've got to log into a website, they've got to, authenticate that on there, put their card number in, it all becomes a very, very clunky experience. What you want to do is to be able to make that a very, very, very clear, consistent, concise, simple to use payment solution. So we looked at a few options on the market around what that looks like, and our partner, a company called Splink, who are based over in Dublin, I think are on this conversation now as well. We spent a lot of time working with these guys about fine-tuning what a good payment solution looks like for our sector and what a good integrated online digital service can look like. So this is basically where we get ourselves to now. So they have a solution which is basically an instant payment vehicle using e-wallets, etc., fully integrated back into any core solutions. These guys have got hundreds, thousands of customers that use their particular platform. So again, integration is absolutely key. Fully integrates back into our communications platform, so we can see those successful transactions and where they've gone, and time, how long it's taken to get the payment from once you've sent out the action. Obviously, they're encouraging customers to take action at the right time. So, do we say actually the best way to communicate with this particular individual is at 10 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock at night? And again, using that data and use that feedback from those particular parts to say actually, texting Mr. Smith at 7 o'clock at night with a payment vehicle has the best effect as opposed to texting him at, 9 o'clock in the morning with no payment vehicle. So again, it's about encouraging those particular customers then to take that action at the right time. And of course, protecting your revenue streams. Now, we're of course all aware of the delay in terms of tenants getting paid initially. It can become difficult then for those individuals. They could then potentially end up in arrears. What I think is critical though, or paramount to this solution here, is our payment platform allows tenants to build up their own payment profiles. So whereas normally, classic arrears systems could say, build up a payment arrangement of paying net rent plus an amount per week, those individuals potentially couldn't afford to do that. So what we could do is say, actually, we could send them a text out. They could then say, yeah, I will pay. They could set up their own payments using continuous card authority, the kind of Netflix, Amazon style payments, and say we want to pay £2 a week for the next 5 weeks. So at least there's some element there of rent, rental cash going there into the business. And again, because it's self-served through there, that is of course what we can then do. So again, summarization, payment vehicle integrated with anything and everything. You don't have to have our arrears solution to have our payments platform. That can be very core system agnostic. But again, once you've got the whole solution, what you should then be able to do is, as it says in the middle, income maximization, revenue protection, rent arrears forecasting engine there, using that data, using that intelligent weighting then around those cases, then to prioritize that case workload. So the people that need the intervention get the intervention quickly. Use the target communications platform to work out which is the best, most effective, most efficient communication method for that individual. And that the best one may well be a visit to their home. So again, if that was a home visit, we can send a visit to a mobile device. And again, we can mobilize that data. And then critically, then all touch points, be that on a text or on a WhatsApp message or whatever that needs to be, we can then embed a payment vehicle into that particular path as well. So that's probably the high level overview around those particular points. I also just wanted to drop in a slide just to possibly finish on, is around our business as a whole. You know, Castleton has been around for sort of 4 or 5 years now, and I'm sure some people on this conversation are already our customers. I just thought it would be useful just to kind of elaborate slightly for a few moments on in terms of what we have and kind of where some of our platforms can fit into here. So the Diamond, which is in front of everybody now, will have all the various kind of core solutions on there. So our digital engagement platform. So, you know, if we wanted to take it to another level, we could take the Arrears engine and then we could mobilize visits by using our Agile platform, which is our staff mobile working solution. If we wanted to drive tenants to an online service, so George mentioned at the very beginning around, you know, obviously Housing Tech has done a lot of work around digitization of services. So our digital platform is what that is. We've done a fantastic project with Richard Harvey recently at Housing Solutions, and I know Rich has been demoing this today at a digital conference using the Amazon Alexa platform or the Google Home platform. So again, if we wanted to potentially push messages to the Alexa platform using notifications, we could potentially break that out into like a separate area from our rent arrears forecasting, and the communication manager is one I've obviously referred to. You know, I won't probably go into the rest of them in too much detail, but again, the digital engagement could also become another dimension of the rent arrears one. Business Essentials is our core housing, core CRM, core DLO workforce management solution, and Community is basically our off-the-shelf, shrink-wrapped, smaller social housing provider solution. Castleton have just become the technology partner of the National Housing Federation as well, and that's one of the particular platforms we'll be pushing to those guys. As part of our business, when we merged it, or we bought in what was called Documotive. So that's where the EDRM solution comes in from what was called the Documotive platform. And in there, again, we've got our reporting stack, our document management, our data services, which is the Sagacity platform I just referred to, and then, of course, our scheduling platform. So we have a very, very big DLO maintenance solution, which is used by lots of contractors, Fortum, Waite, NG, Novus, SureServe, etc. And the scheduling solution is part of those. And then the last two then, just before I hand over to Elaine, is around our financial management platform. So core finance, core purchase to pay, service charges and bricks. We also own the housing bricks products. And to overarch and shrink wrap all this together is our cloud and core services. So we own what was KeyLogic and Montel, two particular large money services businesses, very common across the sector. So again, we can deliver everything I've been speaking about in a hosted solution, and we can also do all the various hosting parts in the sector as well. So, and while of course, it's just me just talking now, and no one can say anything back to me. It'd be great to take any questions at the end if anyone's got anything. I think for us, just go back to the summarisation there. You know, we're very, very keen to help the sector. You know, we know that you guys are, of course, under pressure to deliver this, you know, and the best service possible to the tenants. So again, you know, please do talk to us about our solutions.
Brilliant.
Okay, so thanks, Sebastian. Can I just hand over to Elaine now, if that's okay?
Great, thanks very much. Cheers. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Elaine Gunn. I'm one of the area housing managers at New GORBALS Housing Association. And today, just want to explain a bit of background in New GORBALS and explain what we've been trying to do to combat rent arrears along with Castleton. New GORBALS Housing Association is a successful community-controlled housing association that was established in 1989. We have actually just celebrated our 30th birthday, and we are located just in the south side of Glasgow. The association has grown, and the GORBALS area has been regenerated and transformed through creative and innovative delivery of the best possible housing we can provide. Maintained and welcoming environment and its services to customers that we are extremely proud of. The association now owns over 2,500 houses for social rent, and we are the factor of 1,600 privately owned properties. All our properties are located within 1 mile of our office. Like most housing associations, our IT services and solutions used across our organisation would be key to transforming the delivery of our actual service. So back in 2006, we developed an IT strategy, which meant our housing and financials were both provided by the same IT consultancy. This allowed us to improve our data management and be more efficient in our processes. As we got bigger as an association, we literally doubled in size in 2011 following a stock transfer. The demand for digital engagement with our tenants and self-service increased alongside technology advancements. We created our own new website. We started using text messages more to combat arrears, and the need for mobile digital was much more apparent. Our aim was to form a partnership with an IT provider where we would play a part and hopefully influence them to deliver industry-leading customer service through integrated solutions. We chose Castleton to be that partner. This slide shows you the journey that basically we've gone on, and it's in the indicative timeline that we've used. It's not an exact timeline, but it's roughly there. I have to say the journey has not always been smooth, but there has always been a willingness to problem solve on both sides of the partnership. I do not intend to speak too much about this slide, except to say factors we took into consideration. We wanted efficient systems, we wanted to provide the same services in the home as we did in our offices, like when we went out to see tenants, and that was really where the agile part came into it. So we wanted to be able to take electronic payments for rent. We wanted to link to our housing benefit landlord portal. I'm not sure if that's something available everywhere, but it is in Glasgow. A landlord can dial into the housing benefit system to see what someone's housing benefit is. We wanted to link into the Department of Work and Pensions landlord portal for universal credit cases. We wanted to link into our own landlord, housing and maintenance service systems. We wanted to record all our contact with our customers. We wanted to be paperless as possible, and we wanted to record complaints. Now, how we did that through was obviously the housing and financials came in together to start with. The housing bricks basically helped our finance teams a bit more. Agile was about us moving to a mobile working service. The maintenance service was improved, as well as P2P, which is in effect our invoicing, because there are so many invoices going about this office, it was becoming impossible. So the P2P allows that to all be done digitally. CRM was a key part of us taking things on, and what we wanted to be able to do with CRM was GDPR come in, so we had to do validation on some of the things, but CRM was our customer contact, and that's what allowed us to link into all of the things I mentioned before. The EDRM was again about us being paperless, so that we could document everything. That was our documentation side of it. And basically our asset management for our maintenance side is PIMS, where we've moved on there as well. So this was the sort of journey that we were going with Castleton, and we were hopeful that they could provide all of those services for us. Now, like all housing associations, the introduction of universal credit led to changes in our strategy. We needed to educate and support tenants to become digitally familiar, because a lot of them were, sorry, I've moved on, going back, yeah, yes. We needed to help a lot of our tenants become digitally aware, and the importance of paying their rent in advance was also a big part of this. With our existing staff, we created different roles. Instead of us all having housing officers, we used a third of our staff to become rent officers, specifically targeting rent, and the other 2/3 dealt with estate allocations, antisocial behaviour, etc. Primarily to ensure dedicated staff dealt with the impact of the bedroom tax initially, and then universal credit. We went full service on universal credit on the 26th of September 2018, and in the last year our arrears overall have increased by 0.6%. Now, I know a lot of people had a lot of fears that that was going to be a lot higher, but part of that is because of how we've tackled it. We have 343 tenants who have gone on to universal credit, and their arrears have increased by 5.7% during that same time. What helped us to monitor the impact of universal credit on our tenants and the financial implications was a query that was set up by Castleton. It was created on our housing systems when someone is awarded universal credit. I'll speak a bit more about that information on our next slide that we've got. We also felt that the reports from Castleton needed to be improved, and so we wanted to instantly retrieve data that was perhaps held in different parts of our systems. Like for instance, to get the rent arrears information, we perhaps needed information on households and things like that. But what we are finding through, as James alluded to earlier on, is working with Glantis, we can pick things out from different parts of the system to get our reports, not only for rent arrears, but for things like voids and where we're letting our houses, and get critical information from it. We've been working with Castleton to develop this predictive analysis solution in order to allow us to go forward, and these solutions have been set up to work for new GORBALS and our payment schedules. Basically, we've got two different payments here, so we're a bit unique, so it is unique to us that they're helping us with this just now. That's it. On this particular slide, this is currently on the housing system, and within someone's occupancy, there are tabs where if you have the version of 2018 or beyond for Castleton, I'm not sure if it was on before then, you can actually log on your universal credit cases. There's a tab there that says benefits, then universal credit, and then you can actually put on someone's information regarding their claim. It's key information like the date the tenant went on to universal credit, when you verified their rent with the Department of Work and Pension as a landlord, when their payment dates are due, what their rent balance was at the beginning of them going on to universal credit, whether they are in receipt of discretionary housing payment and how much, whether an arranged payment arrangement is in place, agreed payment arrangement is in place for them, and whether or not a landlord you have requested a third party payment, and for how much for their arrears. So this is actually on the system at the moment, and Castleton kindly run as a query, so it has been crucial to us being able to establish key information with regard to our universal credit cases and to combat them quite quickly. New GORBALS will be using Castleton's rent arrears solutions and going forward, basically to connect any relevant data sources like our finance, housing, repairs. As I said before, part of our problem was we might find some information in housing, but we needed information from other parts of the system, and the reports that were there didn't easily give us that, but we're moving forward to get there with that. We wanted it to visualise information in a single view across all operations, drilling in down on what really mattered to us. We wanted it to be automate the actions based on real-time events, real-time information. There's no point in getting information that was months ago. We wanted to be able to see what was happening now with a particular tenant, with their rent arrears and with perhaps their universal credit housing benefit. And we wanted to use the predictive information, like work out when tenants had broken arrangements, when they had paid less than they were supposed to pay, when their housing benefit was lower than what they were supposed to pay, those types of things. I'm not going to say too much here, except this is an example of the types of reports that we wanted to be able to provide across all of the data systems. Often when we provide data, except that Castleton data cannot be looked at in isolation, you have to look at the external data like the working poor, people who are in debt, who are using food banks, that type of thing, the environment, crime. So we can't take everything just on the data, we have to look at the environment of it, and this is an example of what we felt we had to take into consideration moving forward. This particular slide is this type of work that I've been doing on the rent arrears, where we can get information that looks at patterns of tenants' payments. There are things on here, like as I mentioned earlier on, where court cases was due, broken an arrangement or hadn't made sufficient payments, where tenants increasing rent arrears. What we tend to find just now as a housing officer or a rent officers here are trying to look at every single one of their cases every month, and that sometimes is impossible. So by doing this predictive information and just picking out the people who have their arrears balance has gone up, the benefits not been received, we could target people specifically, and these reports and graphs that will go with it in any format you want, in any colour that you want, is something that we felt that we could use to try and target just specific people, rather than look at every single one. And this would actually free up time for the rent officers to target their specific cases. So basically, in conclusion, we are confident that we'll achieve greater visibility in problems areas and reduce our arrears by reducing our caseloads by highlighting high priority cases. This will allow us to increase collection rates for early intervention, increase rent officer capacity, be proactive in positive communication with our tenants, and drill into tenant behavioural trends and patterns.